to give a brief recap on what we do at the foundation. So, as we all know, Phoebe Arts Foundation is a non-profit organization. We are focused on bringing hope, love, and compassion to underserved individuals in marginalized areas. So, what that simply means is we are trying to deliver care, support, love, compassion, however you can interpret it to be, to underserved individuals in areas that they don't get these services, they don't get this care. They are not they are sectored out of these provisions. So far so good. We've had like a few outreaches done. We've had about 5 outreaches in total, like about 3 orphanage visits, 2 medical outreaches, and many more to come by God's grace. Um, we believe so much that everyone deserves the chance to experience love, to experience access to opportunities, to experience access to things that benefit them, and not just just living away. Lastly, our mission is to inspire lasting impact by restoring dignity, nurturing potential, and transforming lives, one community at a time. We all know that the bedrock of intervention or any intervention is the community. You cannot bring out a family if you don't go into the community, and that is what we believe in, providing care support to these individuals and ensuring that they live happily. Thank you so much for the opportunity. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ade Dodson, for your insightful introduction. Without further ado, let's hear from our distinguished panelists. Please help me welcome on board Ms. Oriyomi, who will be speaking on sustainable solution for closing educational gap. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Oriyomi. Ms. Oriyomi, over to you, please.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. I am so glad to be here. It is such a great privilege. My name is Uriomi Abagun, and I am a program associate. I'm also very passionate about education and getting children the best of the best of education in Nigeria and Africa by extension. So I just want us to imagine that imagine that we have a class with almost 3 to 5 children, and the 5 of them are just there. Now imagine these children even sitting in this class and they are absent minded, or they're not learning, they're not thinking, they're not even responding to what their teacher is teaching them. But before that imagination, I'd like to meet you in the chat box. Tell me your name, tell me what you do. You already met me. I gave you a brief introduction. My name is Uriomi Abagun, and I'm a program associate. I am also passionate about giving quality education to Nigerian children. So please let me meet you in the chat box and tell me your name, tell me what you do, tell me where you're joining from so that we can connect. Now, according to UNICEF, 1 in every 5 out of school children in the world is Nigerian, and about 10.5 million children between the ages of 5 to 14 are currently out of school. Now, another challenge we are actually facing in Nigeria right now is the issue of children even being in school, not sure of getting quality education, but they're still being kidnapped. But that is not what we're talking about tonight. Um, so yes, about 10.5 million children are currently out of school, despite um, despite the the support from non-profits, from individuals to put people in school. There's just like a lot going on. I remember in 2019, I was working in a community. I used to work with this organization where we send children that are out of school back to school. And in this particular committee, we got there, we were to register children. Yeah, we were to register children, and all this, the parents accepted and consented to us sending their children back to school. They told us their challenges and everything. We are ready to start the project. But one particular parent said no. Thank you very much. Hello, Princess. Nice to meet you, executive assistant joining from Lagos. Nice to meet you too. I Adedotunlu Oluwatimileye. Nice to meet you. You are a public health practitioner and project manager joining from Ilorin. Really nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us tonight. So yes, we got to the community and we were trying to talk to this man. You need to send your child to school. And he was like, oh, no, I don't believe in education. My father didn't send me to school. I don't want to send any of my child to school. And it took the grace of God for us to convince that man to send his child to school. Well, guess what? After some months, we got information because, I mean, we didn't just send children to school. We also ensured that we monitored the project. And so after some months, we got the information that he withdrew his children from the school we enrolled there. Now, what is the educational gaps? Educational gaps are not just about children being out of school. Many children are in school, but they are not learning. Many children are in school, but they are not learning. Now, the goal is not just to enroll children in school. The goal is not just to pick children from the streets and put them back in school. The goal is actually to get them quality education that would give the children the skills, equip them with the skills that they need to succeed. Why is education important? I mean, um, we all say education is important, but I mean this today's society will say education is not this is a scam. But no, education is not a scam. So why is education important? Education reduces poverty because when you are educated, you have information, you can do and undo with the information that you have. It promotes gender equality. It creates economic opportunities. It brings peaceful and productive societies. Nigeria, for example, I'm really sorry, but I just have to be sincere. Nigeria, for example, I mean, it speaks volume, and it's evidence that these days we have people who are educated, but then their way of reasoning, their standard of living, it says a lot. It then begs the question, did they really go to school? Did they really get education? I mean, they get quality education. I like to say that education is one of the biggest and the greatest investments any country can actually make. And every additional year of schooling increases a person potential of contributing to society. Yeah. So, what are the causes of educational gap? Number one, poverty. Poverty. Number two, poor school infrastructure. Lack of qualified teachers. These days, we just see everybody wants to become a teacher. But I mean, there are still some states in Nigeria that before you can teach in their schools, you need to go through some trainings. You need to have certain certification. But while in some parts, I mean, all you need to do is just be willing to learn, know how to mark register, know how to give assignments, and you are a school teacher. Gender equality is one of the causes of educational gaps. Disabilities and exclusion, conflict and insecurity, digital divide. Now, I would just I wouldn't really necessarily dwell on this point because they are kind of interconnected. They're kind of interconnected. For example, a child living in a rural community would likely face challenges like poor roads. They don't even have water to bathe. They don't have like the necessary things they need to take to school. Take for example, when I was serving in a particular state that I served, once it rains and the roads are bad, my students do not come to school. So it means that the following week or the following day, I then have to give them note for 2 days or for 2 weeks, and they write and they're able to meet up. Or sometimes we do not even meet up in some terms. We just have to like run everything and make sure that we're up to date. So yes, poor roads, inadequate teachers. Right now, schools in Nigeria actually like depend on core members. Most schools are just waiting for coppers to be posted to their school, and when they get youth copper, they use them anyhow and just give them responsibilities. I had to teach civic education from GSS 1 to SS3. GSS 1 to SS3, and I wasn't a full-time teacher. I just spent 3 terms there, and it was I thank God because I was actually passionate about teaching the children, ensuring that they get the best and the quality education that they are paying for. Limited learning materials. While there are some schools that are already using ICT to their own advantage, we still have schools even struggling to get the correct curriculum. We have schools even struggling to get the right materials for children to even learn. And poverty, a lot of things. So what solutions do we have? Because short-term solutions are not enough. Now, remember I told you I was working with this non-profit that we send children back to school, and sometimes when we go back for the M&E, we notice a lot of things. These children they don't have bags, they don't have books, they can't afford pen. In their classroom, there are no desk or chairs to sit. So we had to go back to the drawing board to think. So then what can we do? And then we started providing, after enrolling them in school, we started providing these children with necessary school materials, sandals, school bags, writing materials. We go as far as providing them with desk, with marker boards, in their school, and all of those things. And then we also looked at the sustainability. We looked at the long-term plan, the long-term solution. What can we do? Then we started this partnership with Lagos State to identify children, to enroll them back in school, and to ensure that they are given the best of the best education. So short-term solutions are not enough. Donations solve immediate problems, quite all right, but they do not address the root causes. They do not. What we need to do is to strengthen systems that provide quality education for children. Talk about providing school bags or paying school fees. Very valuable. But if teachers are poorly trained or school lacks resources, what learning outcomes are we expecting? What learning outcomes are we expecting? What do you expect a child like that to produce? So, what I want us to look at tonight is tackling problems from the root cause. Tackling problems from the root cause. I want also think beyond going to school to donate. I want also think beyond picking children on the school and putting them back in school. We need continuous professional development for teachers. We need better support, motivation for teachers. We need safe classrooms, which is what our government is supposed to be doing. We need learning materials for them. We need to upgrade the classroom, the learning environment with technology that they need. And when I say technology, with the technology that they need. What about community? We need parents to be active in their children's life. We need them to be interested in what their children is doing or what their children are learning in school. We need the support of communities. So I remember a community that I worked. We had this school that had been abandoned for several years, and then we had a meeting with the head of the community. Oh, they were not seeing the school as a problem or as an issue. They were thinking, oh, government will come one day and fix all of our problems. But we had a meeting with them. We did like a reorientation and gave them a new perspective to say that we need your support to make sure this school is running. And today, the school is up and active. It's a public school, but I mean, our government has abandoned the school. But the community right now has taken over the school and they're running it well. What else do we need? In policy and advocacy, we need better funding. We need better fundings. Like, we cannot continue to pump money where unnecessary. And then we are expecting children to be able to compete with children in international countries or international states. It is why you would ask a child, who is your mentor? And then they're saying someone that I cannot mention. Because when we have quality education, when they are properly educated, when they are enlightened, they know what is wrong and what is right. They know how to make decisions. They have the skills necessary to think of who and what they want to become. Better funding from the government, inclusive education policies. So I enter ferry from my house to my office every day. And then I have this particular boy at the ferry terminal. He is deaf and dumb. And because of that, he had to stop going to school. I mean, I had a convo with his mother, and then the mother told me they could not afford to take him to a private school where they would help him with learning aids and everything. Now he's old, he's about 18 years, and he has never been in school. Because why? The system is not inclusive enough. The system is not inclusive enough. There are even children that they do not have physical disabilities or disabilities that are visible. How can we accommodate them? What systems do we have in place to accommodate them? What systems do we have to accommodate them? So to bridge the gap we have right now, everyone has a role to play. The government, the school itself, parents, communities, non-profit organizations, even private sectors. All of us, we have roles to play. Now let me go over it again. For government, we need good policies for education, funding, provide infrastructure. Don't just go and open one school and you create banner and that is the end and you forget about the school. For schools, give the student quality teaching. Make the environment safe for them, which I also think it's the responsibility of the government to a large extent. Right now, with the current situation we have in Nigeria. For parents, support learning at home. Encourage your child to go to school. Encourage them to go to school. For communities, protect the school right now. Promote education. Do not be that community that value noise over quality or quantity over quality. Promote education. Give these children good role models. Now, for NGOs, capacity building. Capacity building. Like I always say every day, that to make Nigeria a better place, all of us have a role to play. And it's the same with this situation. To give children quality education, we all have a role to play. So for NGOs, how are we building the capacity of our teachers? How well are we educating them? How well are we updating them with the new development, the technologies that we have right now that would aid them to give these children quality education. Advocacy, let's advocate for quality education. Let these children know that education is not a scam. It is a lifetime investment. You invest in education, you invest in quality education, you would reap it in the future multiple times, 100 times. For private sector funding, you have your organization, your companies and communities, and the community is just there. You're not doing anything for them. You have schools that have been abandoned. How about you renovate the school? Even if you want to put your organization logo very big in front, but do something. Give them funding to fund the school, to renovate. Equip them with technology, computers, and do not just give them the computers or just create ICT library. Develop the skills. Skills development is also important for them to now know how important and how to use these tools that you've provided for them. And lastly, I would like to talk about how to design for long-term impact. You start with what the community needs. And when you know what a community needs, you co-create the solution with them. You build their local capacity so that everyone has a sense of responsibility, a sense of belonging. You do not go to a community, build a school, abandon it, or just say, oh, we open the school in the name of the Father, the name of the Son, the name of the Holy Spirit. You have not handed it over to anybody. And no one in the community is accountable for whatever is going on in that school. It doesn't aid long-term impact. If we are looking at long-term impact, we have to think about the future. We need to think about sustainable development. Maybe we need to go back to read about it. Quality education. Go forth the targets, the goals, read about what it says, so that we then start to think about long-term solutions to the problem that we have. And when you have built local capacity, measure the outcomes, not the activities. Not to say, oh, we went to this school, we gave 10 textbooks, 100 textbooks, but you have not measured the outcome. What is the outcome? So after giving them the books, after opening the school, after you have educated the teachers, what is the outcome? What happened after that? And lastly, you plan for sustainability from day one. One of the mistakes that we make as organizations or even individuals who are just passionate about giving Nigerians or children quality education is that it is not towards the end we start thinking, what are we now going to do after this? So start thinking about sustainability even from day one. Start measuring your impact while the project is going on. Do not wait until the end of the program that you now say you want to do M&E. As development practitioners, let's start asking ourselves questions. What happened after this project ends? Can the community you have taken this intervention to, can they sustain the intervention? How have we built local ownership? Did we just open a school or a center and we just gave it to them and then it's just there and teachers are teaching? We did not even involve traditional rulers, religious rulers in the community to hand over this project to them or this school to them, or to say, oh, I want you to mentor this particular set of children. Until the other, I remember a project we did in the community in Ikorodu. So yes, what we did was we sent about 20 children to school and we looked for mentors. Now, when I say mentors, not anyhow mentors who are just disguising publicly as mentors. We did a background research on them to know what they can actually offer these children. And then we handed over children to them. Oh, you mentor these three. We want you to mentor them until they are done with their secondary school. And then we come back and check how they are doing, how far you've gone. And then Also, quarterly, we call them. At the end of the section, oh, these children you are working with, how are they doing? I hope they're doing fine. I hope that you don't have any challenges. Is there something that you want us to work on together to give this child a better, much more better, to move them from point A to point B, or to move them to a better point? Now, my key takeaway is that education transforms lives, but then sustainable solution addresses root cause. Now, start to think from today that what do I want to do? Do I just want to solve these problems or this gap or bridge this gap with a short-term solution, or think about the long-term solution and deal with these problems from the root cause? Think about it, because closing the educational gap is not about doing more projects. It is not about going to school, donating books. Quite all right. It is commendable. It's money we are using. We're using our resources to do it. But then we need to think. We need to think beyond that. Closing the educational gap we have right now is about creating stronger systems. It's about tackling the problems from the root cause. It's about empowering communities and ensuring that every child has the opportunity not to only attend school, but to get quality education that they need to thrive in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Riyomi, for sharing your expertise and time with us. We truly appreciate your time and the insightful your insights, ma. Would like to explore your thoughts further with a few questions. The first question we have here is, from your experience in development, what do you consider the biggest barrier preventing children from accessing quality education?
Uh, I mean, I think I already talked briefly about that. And that will be poverty. Poverty, number one. That's on the part of whose it is poverty. One, we also have the infrastructural part. We don't even have quality schools to begin with, but poverty plays like a major role. And then from my experience, I found that the barriers to quality education, they are not even isolated. They are kind of interconnected. But I just feel like the first one for me is poverty. Many families are still struggling. They're struggling to, afford little thing as breakfast, their dinner, their lunch, their meals. They're not able to afford it. So how will they even get money to take their children to a good school? Not expensive school right now, a good school. They're not able to provide them with even basic things like uniforms. I see trends on TikTok right now where influencers and people give children um school sandals, school shoes. Quite all right. I love it. They're doing well. Even when I'm really concerned about the protection of the children, because yes, as much as I know you want to do good, you have to protect their identity. If they're not up to 18, you have no business showing their face, especially if you have not gotten consent from their parents or from their guardian, and you just put their face on social media. So yes, poverty, that's just an aside. So poverty is first in line. The second one, we already talked about it as well. Infrastructure, or let's say unequal access. All fingers are not equal. That's why you see some children living in Lekki or Ikoyi, and then you see some children in rural communities, like villages. The village I served, because I served in a village, and in that village, we have like 4 communities in that village. And some children will have to trek from one community to the other. On some days when they are tired, they will just sleep somewhere and play on the road. And when it's time to go on closing hours, they go back. Now, on equal access to education, children in rural areas, they rarely get access to quality education, because even the one in urban areas safe, most times they don't have access to it. Children living with disabilities, which I already mentioned to before as well. May I also add that the father that I talked about from the beginning, that I said we had to beg him heaven and earth before he could allow his child to go to school. His child was actually a girl at that time, and we were begging him to allow this girl to go to school. And he said he's not interested in sending a girl child to school. So, which brings me to the point to say that girls in some communities are not allowed to go to school. They are limited. Some communities today still believe that investing in a girl child education is a total waste. So these are the issues, and they're not isolated. They are interconnected. Poverty, poor infrastructure, unequal access, the quality of teaching, and so many things. And so many things. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution, man. So the second question I have here is, many interventions are short-lived. What does sustainable educational development actually look like in practice?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Again and again, I want to encourage us as people in the nonprofit sector, whether you are a founder of a nonprofit, or you work or you volunteer with nonprofits. One thing I want us to think about whenever we are working on projects or programs is to think about the sustainability. Think about the sustainability. To me, sustainable educational development is not about just implementing projects. You have to build systems. It is the difference between a temporary solution and a permanent or lasting solution. In practice, it starts with understanding the real needs of the community, other than just assuming this is what they need. Because you might be looking at the community from the outside and you're thinking off the top of your head, oh, this is what they need. But when you speak with the stakeholders, you would realize that they need something different. So, number one is, let's build solutions that would create lasting change and leave temporary solutions alone. I know we want to get the accolades, we need pictures, we need evidence for people to know that, oh, we've done something before they can entrust us with their funds or their grants. But let's think about solutions that can actually give us permanent and lasting change. Also, we should involve communities or stakeholders in developing projects that we've designed. Involved communities in developing projects that we are designing, that we are working, because involving them would make the work much more easy for us. It is like you're saying, Yoruba will say, Ajoshe, it's a partnership. And so we are involving you. If this project fails, it's on you. If it fails, it's on us. We take responsibility for it together. So communities should be involved in designing solutions, because people are more likely to sustain what they help to create. I had a project that was funded by one organization in US as at 2019. Then COVID came in 2020. And the beauty of the project was there were sometimes I was not able to go to the learning center, and it's just their facilitator. The children will open the learning center, and then they get there, they learn whatever they want to learn, life skills. We also did a little bit of vocational training. And I get reports each time from their community heads. Oh, Aomoyi, they are around though. Oh, they just closed the learning center. They have given the key to so thing. So involve communities, because what they are not involved in designing, they are most likely to leave it. And there's also a part where communities will want to get something before they can do something. God will help us. I mean, we just need to identify people who have who are like-minded, who think like us, who are ready for solution, and not just there because of something they would gain in return, or accolades, or their picture on social media or anything. So yes, for me, it's about building systems. It's about looking for a lasting solution to the problem. It's about understanding what the community needs. It's about designing solutions with communities, because they are most likely to sustain what they have helped you build or created. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Ms. Uriyomi, for your valuable contribution. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce to us our next speaker, Mr. Kayode Pelemo. So, Mr. Kayode Pelemo is a financial professional, chartered accountant, a certified financial modeling and valuation analyst, and a passionate youth leader. He currently works as an assistant manager in the Deals and Financial Advisory Practice at PwC, advising clients on merger and acquisitions, valuations and project finance, and other strategic transactions. He is also an associate member of ICANN. Mr. Coyote has contributed to several landmark transactions, including Africa Energy acquisition of Shell's onshore business in Nigeria. Beyond his professional career, he's a committed youth mentor and speaker, passionate about empowering young people through leadership, personal development, and career growth. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Kayode Pelemot. Thank you, Mr. Kayode. The floor is yours now.
Thank you very much, everyone. Trust we're all doing fine. Please confirm that you can hear me clearly.
I can hear and see you, sir.
Oh, right. Fantastic. Thank you. And first of all, I'd like to appreciate the entire team at Phoebe Arts and Hope Foundation for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to contribute my quota to the discussion today. And also the speaker before me, Madam Oriyomi, thank you very much for that insightful session. In fact, it was really insightful, and several things you said was really noteworthy, and I have my notes full from that session. Thank you so much. And I'm going to be piggybacking from that session, especially from the part where you mentioned about education being everyone's responsibility, that everyone has a role to play. And that is what I'll be speaking on today or this night. I'll be speaking on the fact of that education is everyone's responsibility. Everyone has a role to play in education. And I'm sure some of us on this call might have been listening and been wondering, why do I need this? I'm not in government. I'm not in this position. I'm not in that position. Do I really have a role to play in education? The answer is yes. The answer is no matter where you are, no matter what you do, no matter who you are today, there's something that you can add to the educational landscape wherever you are. So you have a role to play. And I'll start by giving a quick story about a school. So this school is a public school, is a government owned school, And there was a publication that all the non-academic staff will be on strike. They will not be available for any service they render. And the students of that school said, well, it doesn't affect school. What we need for school is our teachers. What we need for school, as long as our teachers are available, school can continue to run itself. Everything can proceed smoothly. And the students came into school the next day. First of all, there was no gate man to welcome them. There was no gate man to open the gates of the schools for them. And they struggled to access the school. They got into school, the school premises, everywhere was scattered, everywhere was scattered. They were unable to access the halls where they previously took their classes. They were able to access the halls. They saw, oh, the chairs were not arranged. Several things were not in place. The cleaners have not come to clean. The drivers that would transport them from this location to that location have not come. And at the end of the day, classes were not able to be held during this period. Not because the teachers were not available, but because the supporting infrastructure that makes things work were not available. And from that, the students begin to understand that education is not one man's responsibility. Education is a system. And what a system means is that a system is a group of several integrated parts that work together to achieve a common goal. No one department is the most important in achieving education for all. Every department has to come together to buy into the common vision. So, for example, you see the school gate man at the gate in the morning, and you feel, oh, this person is not contributing to education. But because that person keeps the premises secure, that person controls access in and access out, he contributes his own quota. You see the people cleaning the offices, you see the people cleaning the rooms, people cleaning different facilities. You think they do not contribute to education, but because they are there, that is why classes are able to hold in the different venues they are holding, in the different lecture centers they are holding. So everyone has a part to play in education. And I also start my session by saying that education should not be seen as a mere expense. Education is a long-term investment. No amount spent in educating yourself, educating your child, educating a loved one is a waste because it's not just an expense. From a finance perspective, for example, there are several kinds of things that money can be used for. And there are things that when you spend money on, they do not have the ability to generate returns. Education is not like that. Education is such that every kobo you spend to make yourself a better person, or you spend on your child to make him or herself a better person, it's not wasted. So you are in a situation now, and people, there's list of books, there are books to buy, there's lecture fee, there's this, there's that, and you feel, no, this amount is not required. I'm not seeing immediate value now. And that's the interesting thing about education. Sometimes you don't see the impact because not every investment generates returns immediately. For example, I cannot invest in a farmland and say I want to farm, I want to do in the business of planting apples. And I invest in that farmland, and because I want to plant apples, I want to start selling apples tomorrow. That cannot work because education has to be seen as a long-term investment that generates stable long-term returns. It's not a class that it's not a thing that you see now and you generate the returns now. It's something that the returns would even outlive you because the result of a properly educated person creates inspirations for generations to come. And education is simply a means of acquiring knowledge, of acquiring skill, of knowing how to become better, of training a child how to become better. There's a common saying that, oh, school is a scam, school is a scam, school is a scam. But what people don't know is that there's some things, the school system, although the school system is just a subset of education, education is even more than the school. But if you take the school system, for example, there's something the school system is teaching every. And that's why you discover you may not even end up practicing what you learned in school. But the school unconsciously teaches you, number one, it teaches you structure. It teaches you how to plan yourself. It teaches you how to meet deadlines because you are given assignments and you're told you have to submit it today or you submit it tomorrow. And the English teacher giving you the assignment does not care whether the mathematics teacher has given you assignment also. So, but it's training your mind to be able to meet up with deliverables, to be able to meet up with timelines. Your class begins by 8 o'clock. What is it doing? It's training your mind to be able to wake up early, plan for yourself so that you don't go late to that class because you know the repercussions of coming late to that class. And if somebody that passes through that system properly, what happens is that the person is fully ready for the workplace. And that is why there are some jobs you see that any graduate can do the job. The reason why company says, oh, BSc in any field is acceptable is because companies know that as long as you were able to pass through the educational system successfully, number one, you're able to reason. Number two, you can function in a structured environment. Number three, you can meet up with timelines. You understand the importance of timelines based on those trainings. Those trainings you do, you may not even know that you are being trained in those areas. But gradually, it shapes you. And that is for the structured setting. The unstructured settings gradually shapes you even more. And the structured one is in form of mentoring, is in form of online courses, is in form of learning a skill, is in form of several other things that shapes you more. Because the greatest way to acquire knowledge is by doing. And next to it is by observing someone that does. And that is why one form of unstructured education I really love so much is the one for the barbing industry. If you see someone that wants to learn how to barb or come into the barbing industry, person gets attached to an experienced barber. And what does the person do? The person just stays in the barber shop. The person doesn't touch clipper in the first week of that learning. But the person stays and observes. The person is not even allowed to sit down, especially in most of the cases that I've seen. The trainee does not sit down. The trainee stands up and the experienced barber cuts different kind of people's hair. And the trainee just begins to observe. He says, get me brush. He gets brush. Oh, get me this taper. He gets this. Oh, help me sweep the floor. He sweeps the floor. Unconsciously, that trainee barber does not know that education is happening. Even without the experienced barber saying something, education is already happening because you're observing. This is what happens. This is the first thing he does when a customer walks in. And gradually, you know that you are learning something. Sometimes you may even do things that are not even related to your role as a trainee barber. For example, you are sent on errands to buy food, to buy different materials and stuff like that. But one thing is that unconsciously you are learning service. You are learning the skill. You are learning both the skill of barbing. You are learning the mannerisms, the way to address customers, such that tomorrow when you open your store, you are able to function perfectly. And that is education. And there's no person that spends more on education and does it well and learns it well and does not later receive the dividends, the returns of education. Because as like I've said earlier, education is an investment. And every investment generates returns. And the returns of education is everlasting. It's not a short-term investment where you just generate returns for a few weeks and that's all. It is everlasting, such that even in the next 20 years, because of the education you've received or because of how you've trained yourself over time, you now become an asset to the society. And when the society is looking for solution providers, where the society is looking for people, they look at you. And education should also be noted. It should be noted that education is something that improves the quality of any economy it is. And if you take some countries that value education very well, and if you look at their economy, we see they are very fast rising. If you take South Korea, you take Finland as a case study. These are countries that prioritize education. Take China for a case study also. They prioritize education, both formal structured education and practical and informal education. And you see the rate at which this economy is growing, because education is an investment not only for the individual, but an investment for that person to become a better person in life. And that is why there's a common saying is that if you think education is pricey, then try ignorance. Because education, the results of education, you cannot overemphasize it. So I also like to touch on the part of financial literacy, because we have talked on the fact that it's an investment, and it's an investment that everyone can make. Everyone can partake in education. We all talk about the government. The government has its role to play, and I'm thankful to Madam Oriyomi who had explained that very well. The government has its role to play in making sure the environments are safe, in putting quality infrastructure in place, in investing in education. The government has a role to play. Organizations have roles to play. And I'm thankful to also organizations that have made education part of their corporate social responsibility, because there's no way the economy can be better if we do not prioritize education. And so anytime I see scholarships from organizations, I'm usually excited, because that is the future. That is the only way we can ensure that the next generation does not become a liability. Because without education, the next generation will become a liability, will become a problem, will become people that will then, instead of them to be self-sufficient, they'll become people that depend on us, because we refuse to train them well when it is right. So as organizations, you have to invest. So if you are, for example, a leader of any organization, you have your role to play in investing in education. It could be through scholarships. It could be through the structured learning for your key staff, for your key employees, because that is also education. Are you a leader of an organization who just onboards people, and when you onboard them, you just tell them to figure it out? After all, we're paying them salary. That's not the sustainable way to go. We have to train them. We have to invest in education. Every individual here also can invest in education financially. To say a platform where, where people are able to be sent to school, where books are able to be given to people, we can also support that. We can also support education with our skill base. I saw a case study of some coppers that went to an environment and they noticed that there was no school there. And they did a survey and they saw that the people, they are actually interested in education. These coppers pulled themselves together and started doing a semi-version of a school. No government funding, no scholarship from universities, but just individuals who understand the priority of education, who understand that it is the only way, the next generation can be built. They didn't invest money, but they sacrificed their time to do like a tutorial setting, teaching their skills to these children, teaching about the importance of education. And the truth is that when a child is being taught about the importance of education and the vision of education is so clear in his mind, even when that child goes home and his parents wants to discourage him, what happens is that the child speaks clearly that this is what I want to do. That's why we see some children will say, I am going to commercial class because this is what I want to do. Because the vision of education has been spelled clearly in their minds. So the food for thought or the action point I want everyone here to live with is that everyone has a role to play in education, and there's something you can do in your capacity. You may say, oh, I'm not in government, I'm not the Minister of Education, I can't do that. But there's something you can do in your capacity. You can either support by using your skills, by using your talent, by creating courses, free courses, YouTube, pushing it out, by supporting organizations that sponsor children to school, by creating those platforms where people that need education reaches them. Everyone should leave this session with an action point of the role they will play in furthering education, because it's all our shared responsibility. Thank you very much. Thank you very
Thank you
much,
very
everyone.
much. Thank you very much, Mr. Kayode, for your valuable contribution. Thank you for shedding so much light on this topic. We would like to ask you a few questions. So, the first question here is, what role should businesses and private organizations play in addressing educational inequality?
Yeah. So thank you very much for that question. And I think I touched on it briefly in part of the session. As a business, no matter how small you are, the first thing is that every staff should know that education is a priority for them. You can be a business with just 5 staff members, but do you have a session where you onboard them properly and tell them the vision of the organization? Tell them the reason why this organization was set up. Tell them the plan. Tell them their job responsibilities and help them achieve that job responsibility. That is the bedrock or the minimum requirement for every organization. And if we take it a bit further, every organization, once you reach a point, every organization should be willing, and that's why I celebrate organizations who sponsor academic certifications and trainings for their staff, because it sends a message. It sends a message to staff that we take education very seriously. The organization I've reviewed some organization policies, and there are some roles where you cannot get to in an organization if you do not have a certain qualification. The reason for that is not primarily because you cannot do the work without that certificate. The major reason for that is to show you that education is very important, and they believe that for every level, you need to continue to upskill yourself. So that's number one, the minimum requirement, because it has to start internally. Once you prioritize education within the organization, within every team member, where you can walk up to the security person at the gate and the person can tell you the vision of the organization, then we are getting somewhere. Then 2 is, should improve their outlook of their corporate social responsibilities. Every year, organizations declare profits, they declare this, they declare that, and corporate social responsibility is one key thing an organization should not overlook. Because the reason why an organization or a business can function properly is because the environment or the community gives it access to function properly. And that's why, for example, some oil companies cannot function because the community, today they break pipelines, tomorrow they break this, they break that, they can't function. So no business can function in isolation. So business should prioritize giving back in a structured manner. Because you can do a giveaway and say, I want to come on TikTok live and share money for people. But that's not structured. And like Madam Oriyomi would say, that's not sustainable. There should be a structured system, a sustainable system where scholarships, where funding can be pushed out to the educational sector. And those funding should be tracked and measurable. Not an announcement that, oh, so PLC has dropped 100 million for educational sector. Where is the 100 million going to? How many people do we plan to send to school with this? What will be the scorecard of this? So it's not even, because we have seen organization funding, and in some quarters, funding is not even the issue, because some organizations, because of PR, they are ready to fund. But are they ready to follow up to ensure the funding is channeled properly and allocated properly? And they also go back to see the outcome. Because one other powerful thing Madam Yomi said is that we should focus on outcomes and not just activities. We appear in the news, we snap, oh, this person signed a deal to do a school, to paint a school, to do that, to do this. But are we tracking the outcomes? I think all this is how the organizations and the private sector can contribute effectively to education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another question I have here is, as someone passionate about youth development, what practical advice would you give to young people who desire to build meaningful career despite limited opportunities?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. And one thing we should note is that at every level, opportunities are limited. And the simple solution or answer I'll give to any young professional is start from where you are. Look around you at your level. What can you do at your level? There's a saying that I like so much. It says, the saying is, life is in stages and men are in sizes. Now, what that means is that there's something that you can do at your level. There's a level of education that you can do at your level. There are courses you can do at your level. And we live in a world where education is now more accessible, especially for professionals, especially for people, for young adults. Because there's nothing you're looking for example, that you can't get on YouTube. In fact, if you want the whole accounting framework, there are lecturers on YouTube that dish that out for free. There are professional examinations where the full contents. I have colleagues who have prepared for professional examinations fully through YouTube videos. They have the study pack, but the free YouTube videos is even more insightful, because that's what is happening. There are courses for free. There are courses for limited amounts, for small amounts that you can pay for. And there are free courses. And there are scholarships. So there's always something in your level. I remember there was a course I wanted to do for a long while, the financial modeling and valuation certification. And because that course was priced in USD, it was around, $1,000 or $500 thereabout. And like I said before, life is in stages, men are in sizes. At that point, I did not have the capacity to invest in that course at that particular time. But I saw a platform, I'm sure some people were ALX, and I saw that they were doing a scholarship. And I registered for that scholarship. I got in and followed the trainings, learned everything in that certification, got the certification free of charge. So there are opportunities. Are you looking? Because there are always opportunities around you, especially for someone that's willing to start from his or her level. Imagine me saying now that, oh, I don't want to do any course. The only course I want to do is from Harvard Business School or London School of Business. That'll be me deceiving myself. Can I do those courses next year, tomorrow? Who knows? That's very possible. As of now, I will do the one within my control. There are free courses, there are platforms, there are opportunities available. Do that within your control. And for young professionals also, there are mentors. There are people that you can get guidance for here and there. They can teach you things for free here and there. For example, to do even just this evening, one of my friends that work in another organization reached out to me and said, I have a presentation on this, this, and that. Please, I need your contribution on this. I'll send it to you. Please help me review. I need a contribution of this. And after that, what will happen? We rub minds together and education has happened. Knowledge has exchanged. So that's the summary. Start from where you are, explore the opportunities around you, and you'll be surprised what you can do from where you are. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Mr. Kayode, for your valuable contribution. We'll now be moving to our third panelist, Miss Emike Aliu. Miss Emike Aliu is a brand communication professional and creative strategist with experience across industries including fintech, fashion, food and beverages, automotive, and lifestyle. She has worked with leading brands to shape compelling narrative, strengthen brand perception, and create impactful campaigns that make brand memorable and relevant in competitive markets. She's known for her strategic thinking, creativity, and effective communication. Beyond her professional work, she's passionate about empowering people, creating opportunities, and using creativity as a tool for positive impact. Through her work and leadership, she continues to champion collaboration, innovation, and purpose driven change. Please join me as we welcome Miss Emike Aliu. Thank you very much, ma.
Hello,
The floor is
everyone.
yours now, ma.
Thank you. Hi, Miss Mercy. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good evening. Hope you're doing well. I want to say thank you to Mr. Kayode and um, Miss or Mrs. Oriyomi. You guys, you've blown my mind, to be honest. And I'm really grateful that I'm coming after them because I want this to be as interactive as possible. So I want to start with a question, right? And I would appreciate if we can have this as an interactive session. If you have a question, please feel free to ask. And I think I want to be able to ask questions myself. So we're talking about the like bridging gaps, right? Education for every child. And I will be focusing on using creativity and communication to expand access to education. Now, I had created an entire slide. I was hoping I could share. But before we go into that, I just want someone to just tell me, based on what you've heard this evening, right? When you think of the term education, what comes to your mind? Like right now, when you think, just think education. If I mention education, what are those things that comes to your mind, or what is that thing that comes to your mind? Anybody? Anybody? What comes to your mind? Let's have this as an interactive session. What comes to your mind when you hear the term education? Trying to see if I can still share my screen. I mean, I'm open to calling someone. So please, I just want someone to give me a response based on what you've heard this evening. When you think of education, what comes to your mind? Please, can everyone hear me? Okay. Okay. So we're just going to go straight into it so that we do not waste much of our time. And I can say I have just 5 minutes. So I'll try as much as possible to put everything into that. Um, for some reasons, I'm unable to share my screen. So I'll just let's do what we can. So when we think of education, we are talking beyond the walls of the school, right? I want to believe that based on what our previous speakers and panelists have spoken about, we know that education goes beyond the four walls of the school. I mean, Mr. Coyote was talking about a baba and how he gives education, right? But everyone who thinks about education, you're thinking about it, and when someone says education, the first thing that comes to your head is school, the normal school, the formal type of school. We forget the learning that takes place every day of our lives. But today we are going to we look at bridging the gap, the education gap. That means we have to pull down the four walls of the classroom, of the regular classrooms that we are known or we are used to. All right. Now, as someone who works in communication and creative strategy sector, right, I've realized that some of the greatest changes that happens in society starts with an idea, starts with a story, and it starts with a voice. Now, it's funny that these three things are kind of intertwined, right? The voice, the idea, and the story. You could have an amazing idea. You could, because I mean, I believe that in the creative industry it deals a lot with your ideas, how innovative you are, how creative you are. You could have an idea, but your idea would have boundaries if you don't have a voice. Your story would die within you if you do not use your voice. Imagine if Nelson Mandela or a Martin Luther King Jr. never had to use his voice to speak up against oppression. Then what? He knows that there is a need for change. He has a story to tell, the story of the struggle of a black man. But if he had not spoken about it, if he didn't use his voice, it would have died with him. The oppression would have continued longer until someone else is bold enough to speak. Same with the apartheid, until someone who is bold enough to speak. All right. So I'm saying that for us to create a change, we must know that there is a need to use an idea. There's a need for the idea. There is a need for a story, right? A major part of communication and effective communication has to do with storytelling. And we're going to look at all of those things when I talk about when I talk on my points. All right. Has to do with storytelling. But in order for you to properly tell a story, you need to use your voice. Your voice could be you in a podcast studio. Your voice could be your pen. Do you understand? So you need to be able to use your voice. Now, education is not only about providing schools, it is about ensuring that every child has the opportunity, regardless of their gender, their economic background, their I've spoken about gender, their religion, right? They need to be able to dream, they need to be able to learn, they need to be able to grow, they need to be able to contribute to society, and they need access to quality education. It means I should be able to access these things without any form of boundary. I should be able to access these things without any form of gap. My gender as a woman should not be a reason why I cannot access quality education. Should not be the reason why I cannot sit down in a classroom. My economic background should not be the reason why I cannot be a pilot tomorrow. My economic background should not be the reason why I cannot be a doctor. I'm passionate about it, but I'm too poor to go to school. I'm too poor to access quality education. Now that is a gap. All right. So I want us to visit some certain points. My first point is stories create awareness and inspire action. Now, behind every statistics is a child. But when you hear about the numbers, oh, 100 children are starving. Um, 10 out of 100 children are out of school. It's just a number. It doesn't touch the emotional points, right? As someone who has done a lot, like who works in the marketing sector, they'll tell you in marketing, you have to deal with your emotions. You have to deal with the emotions of your audience. I need to tap into your emotion. I need to say certain things that will key into you. If you have, let me talk about Detour, for example. The Detour slogan, right? When you see the Dettol video, you see a mother, her child fell, she's using wool and Dettol to clean the wounds. If I don't take care of them, who will? I mean, there is a nurturing part to a mother. It keys into something, it touches into something. That's exactly what storytelling does. This is one way that communication, effective communication, can be utilized when it comes to bridging the gap in education and creating some form of awareness. If a child, now, when I say behind every statistics is a child, that is a child that walks kilometers to school. No form of transportation, proper transportation. They have to walk. By the time they get to school, they are tired. That is a child. It's not a statistics, it's a child. There is the girl child that drops out of school because it's time for you to get married. How old is she? She's 9. That's not the statistics. That is a child. Now, there is a boy you cannot attend school because his family cannot afford books, or you are a man, you need to be able to cater to your family. At the age of 12, go and start learning a trade. I understand that is like an informal kind of education, but like you're out of school. That is it. That already is a gap. Or like the child behind the statistics of someone who has disability and is unable to learn, who has never seen the four walls of a classroom. Because how would you learn? You cannot read. How would you learn? You can't see, rather, how would you read? You cannot hear, how would you read? And thank you, Oriomi, for actually pointing this out about the 18-year-old who had never received any form of education at all. Now, through effective storytelling, we can create awareness. Imagine you are watching the news, and on the news, you see, or maybe a video you come across on social media, and then what you hear is, oh, this is Ralia. Ralia is a girl. She's 12 years old. Ralia has suffered. Ralia has to walk certain kilometers to school every day. These are the blisters on Ralia's feet. Or, oh, this is Jonathan. Jonathan is passionate about mathematics, an extremely bright student, but cannot continue his education because he has to fend for his family. Now, that is a story. That is what storytelling can do. You tell that kind of story, and what else? Someone is interested in funding. Someone is interested in starting a GoFundMe. Oh, let's support this person. It's a different thing when you are hearing, oh, 10 children out of one thing in one state are not going to school. What do we do about it? It doesn't reach the emotional point, but storytelling can do that. Effective storytelling can do that. Now, that is a way storytelling can inspire action and create awareness. All right. It's taking away statistics and putting a face to the what's the word? To the struggles. All right. Now, communication shapes public perception. Over time, a lot of there's been talks of mental decline in our society, and we are not going to, I don't think we should even deny it. We know that this is a given. This is what is currently happening. Mental decline. How did it happen? Media, PR, bad PR. I was having a conversation with someone today, and he's looking at going back to take his a course, or going back to school. He's 26. And the reason why it has taken this long for him to even get a degree in the first place is because he had always lived by, I mean, we once had a conversation a few years ago. I think that was 2021, and how he was talking about the fact that, oh, what's the need of going to school? People are still making it without going to school. I'm just trying to talk about perception. There's been this PR of why education is not important, or just go to primary school, you will learn how to speak normal grammar, and then you can carry on with your life, do business and all. So there's this perception that education is not important. How did it happen? Bad media, bad press of education. So communication can shape public perception. Now, if the way, and then I think media platforms, the media as a whole, need to be able to um, communicates ways by which we can make it better, rather than just talking about the struggles and what is bad. Oh, what are the things we can do? When we are talking about the bad parts, let's talk about solution. Let's be solution oriented communication. Or things that will make parents become more involved, that will make businesses want to invest. Do you understand? Communities, we want to support schools. Oh, tomorrow you will see communities, especially like I was reading something about I think it was a small area in Switzerland where they came together to ensure that they created something. I think it was like a fundraiser or something for the school or for certain students. That I think those are things that we can do. Those are things that proper communication can make happen. When there is effective communication, you are communicating what needs to be communicated, the struggles, what can be done, how solutions can be given. You see that parents become more involved. Tell the parents, give proper sensitization. You will see that parents will become more involved. Oh, my child is not dropping out of school. Oh, this is how I can be checking my child's homework. Even the uneducated parents. I've met uneducated parents that are very invested in their children's education because of sensitization. Madam, you know, say this yam where you dey sell. You know, once me your pikin do this work, you know, say he hard. But if your pikin get education, now waiting, now that pikin fit carry you come up for this problem. They will be invested. They will make sure that they are as dedicated as possible. Even if they cannot read, they will check. Were you the one that wrote this? Or follow the child to school. This pikin, how is it doing? Do you understand? Communities can support. I've spoken about that. You can come together and say you want to create clean water system for the entire school. Then young people can easily volunteer. I like how Oriyomi also spoke about that. The fact that this thing, like education, is not left to just a particular sector. It is everybody's business. I mean, it takes a village. We like to say that. And I like how Africans or Nigerians, we are very big on community. It starts from the house. It starts from the woman that sells things on the street. It starts with the government. It starts with all of us. All right. Media. Okay. So I've already said that media organizations amplify solutions instead of only highlighting the problems. All right. Now, technology has expanded access to learning. Now you have apps and I mean like transcribe. Live transcribe is like an application that people that are hard of hearing or that are deaf, right, can use for education, like can use in the classrooms. So you install the app, there is a phone, there is a tablet that it is connected to. And in that process, when the teacher is speaking, it automatically just transcribes what the teacher is saying and the students can read it, right? It just makes it easier. Those are things that technology has done. That is another level of communication. Although technology cannot replace teachers, but it makes it easier. Educational content, like Kayode said, is available online. There are educational content and digital libraries and digital libraries that students can use. Catalogs, book catalogs that students can access. Although there is a challenge. If we talk about the rural society or rural communities, how do they access electricity, gadgets, internet? Do you understand? But I believe that as that is a problem, a solution that can be driven is what some people are already doing. Digital hubs in communities, in rural communities, where students can go in and say, oh, I can access education here, I can access books here. Do you understand? Like digital hubs that takes you out of the normal formal classroom setting and you can learn outside the classroom. You know, we have virtual classrooms, we have mentorship programs, online mentorship programs, right? We have getting ASL and NSL. NSL is Nigerian Sign Language interpreters to come to classrooms and help bridge communication gaps in the classrooms. All right. So I'm just going to round up now because my time is almost up. And I also want to talk about purpose-driven leadership. Purpose-driven leadership is one thing we cannot overemphasize on. The teacher that goes all out to make sure that a child that has learning disability, like dyslexia, is not left out. Back then, years before now, we'll see things like them saying that somebody is dull, the person has no way to learn, or the person has no hope when it comes to learning, the person is a dullard. Meanwhile, the person has a learning disability. So teachers that go all out to make sure that all their students are included, that is purpose-driven leadership. That is leadership. Parents that go the extra mile to make sure that my child will not drop out of school unnecessarily. I will not just say because I'm angry or the child needs to make money, my child is going to drop out of school. A parent that say, okay, even if he needs to join me in selling, at least let him go to school. When he comes back, he can do that. That is leadership. All right. That is leadership. And one of the a very good example I would like to cite is Atinuke. Atinuke is a memorial home for people with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. She has an educational system. She has an entire vocational school for people with this. When you go there, you see them. Most of them are. There's one. I think his name is David. He's a pastor, but he has Down syndrome. So she has bridged the gap. She has made sure that these people, regardless of their struggles, are able to access information, are able to access education, regardless of what they are going through. You know. So now I want us to, one of my call to actions, or some call to actions that I had put down here is, imagine if every company adopts a public school. Every company. Imagine the impact if every professional mentor the students. Just one professional, me as a person, I decide to pick a student and I mentor. We have over 300, like, what am I saying? We have over 300,000 professionals. Imagine each of them decides to take just one student, just one. Imagine the possibilities. Imagine if a young person volunteers somewhere a month. I want to take extra lesson for some students, right? I mean, you have cases where students are unable to access um, quality education, and that's the reality of what we are going through right now. But then, because they don't have quality education, I have time. From 4 o'clock, I'm free. Let me see if I can just give them extra lessons because their parents cannot afford it. So these are ways we can bridge the gap. Like Oriyomi had said, those that are responsible, government, public sector, private sector, you as an individual, parents, the community. So this is my opening, even if I've used more than 5 minutes, and I apologize, right? On using creativity and communication to expand access to education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Emike, for that impactful section. I'd like to move on to the questions that I have for you. The first question here is, what role does purposeful relationship leadership, play in building solutions that create opportunity for children and young adults?
Okay, I think I'm just even going to take this as fast as possible, right? I think I said something regarding purposeful leadership, which was like my last point, and how so if you are that teacher that goes the extra mile, like I said, that teacher is leading. That is purposeful leadership, because I can easily turn the other cheek and say, you don't pay me enough for this. Or that parents that goes the extra mile and makes sure my child doesn't drop out of school. Now, another good let me use Tunde Onokoya as an example. Tunde Onokoya started the Shares in Slum initiative that helps to bring out children that are in slums, children in rural areas, ghetto, somewhere as terrible as Makoko. There was someone that came out of Makoko, and currently he went to New York. He contested, he won, he has a gold medal and all of that. That is purposeful leadership. And the role it has helped in building solutions. For example, I'll still use Tunde Onokoya as a case study, right? Is that he has made students or children that never thought they could amount to anything become something. He has created an opportunity for them to learn beyond the chess, beyond learning chess. Mind you, chess is a game that requires intellect. Not everyone has the capacity to play chess on a grand level. And that is what he has done with these kids. Kids that people amounted to nothing. Now he has created a means, or created an environment where he mentors these children. You are more than where you came from. Children that used to pick refuse, children that were entirely dirty, that came from nothing. He has mentored them to become something, to the point where they can contest and compete against world champions that had better and more quality education. So, in saying what role does purposeful leadership play? That is the role. That is the role. As someone who is a leader and you are doing it purposefully, you are doing it genuinely, and you're doing it with so much vigor, so much desire, so much zeal, you are changing lives. You are changing lives. You are allowing children see themselves more than what they are. It has both the females, both the males. The girl child that they will tell that, oh, because you're on your menses, you cannot go to school. You have to stay at home for some days because they don't have this, they don't have that. Or the girl child that they'll say, oh, you need to be in the kitchen. So once you are 8, what are you going to do in school? Or after 8, what are you going to do in school? Yes, make them see beyond that. So that is my answer on purposeful leadership and the roles it creates in building solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma, for your contribution. So, thank you to all our speakers for your impactful presentations. We'll now move into our panel discussion where I'll ask a few questions for all our panelists. The first question I have here is, who bears the greatest responsibility for ensuring every child has access to quality education? Is it the government, the communities, the parents, or the private sector? Please,
Can I
any of us?
speak?
Okay, thank you very much. You can,
Okay,
ma.
so like I said earlier, can you hear me?
Yes, ma. We can hear you, ma.
Okay, like I said earlier, this role, this work, this duty, this responsibility is on everybody. It's on everybody. Now, the parents will play their own role by encouraging learning, keeping the child in school, and all of that. And the community, we as community leaders, we as a body in the community, we'll make sure that we create a form of environment or a kind of environment where the education is valued and education is properly protected. It is still community and societal standards that make us have certain ideologies, such as a girl child should not have education past a certain level. A girl child should not access education when she's this, when she's that, you know? So it goes to everybody. There's no one particular person. The responsibilities are different, but they play the same role. So it is not tied to one person. That's what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Emike, for that. I know you said earlier that if one initiative you would like to implement, if um we can adopt one professional to a student's mentorship. So I would like to hear from the other speakers that if you had one policy or initiative you could implement immediately to improve education in Nigeria, what would it be?
Can I go on?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oriami.
All right, so please pardon the noise at my background. So I think it will be for me is equipping teachers and creating like a support program for teachers. Now, one of the things that I observed during my youth service is that we had people who were more interested in collecting salaries and sending children to go to the farm to cut vegetables for them than being interested in the future of the children. Now, I'm not trying to brag, but allow me brag a little bit. Um, I came into the school and I saw the problem. My father raised us to be solution providers who are really passionate. So when I got to the school, you know, I observed everything, no concrete lesson notes. outdated curriculum. And so I came in with my own strategy. I began to use my data to look for, to form lesson note, to look for updated curriculum, to teach these children. We watch videos on YouTube, use different strategies to teach them. And I also paid attention to each of the students because children are very different. And the way you deal with child A is different from the way you deal with child B. So I had to study. Yes, I was teaching from GSS1 to SS3, but I also had a class that I was their class teacher. So I had to go through that. And at the end of the day, I got like the best call member in my PPA. What am I trying to say is we need teachers who are passionate about what they're doing, who have conscience, who know that if I do not teach these children, they will turn out to be something else in the future. And that's why government should look into investing in teachers, motivate them, their trainings, give them skills that would increase their performance, all of those things, professional development. If they want to go for, their masters, more educational programs, trainings, allow them go for it. Give them opportunity to access modern teaching methods. And I also want to encourage teachers as well to be open-minded, be willing to learn, be passionate about what you're doing. So if there's one policy I'd like to implement, I'll maybe call it National Teacher Development and Support Program, a kind of program that is focused on teachers. Because when we have teachers who are in the right frame of mind, who are in the right state, that is when we can provide students or get the quality of the education that we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Miss Oriyomi. So my last question here is, in as much as we've listed so many shortcomings and areas on which we can improve, what actually gives you the hope about the future of education in Africa? Mr. Kayode, can you please answer that for us?
Yes, I can. Thank you. So,
Thank
and
you.
thank you very much, my previous speakers. So, I think what gives me the hope that the future is really bright is looking at the next generation, looking at the upcoming generation, and seeing the passion they have for knowledge. If we think we are hungry for knowledge, you need to check out the young ones. You would see that they are far, far, far more hungry for knowledge. They are far, far more hungry to learn more. Most of them are at a point where they want to go to school, they want to learn various kind of skills. You'll see a young person that is still maybe in secondary school. He wants to learn graphic design. He wants to learn how to create websites. They are very hungry for knowledge, and it shows that with the right policies, with the right things in place, there's a possibility that the educational system and the educational landscape in Nigeria is going to turn around. I remember, in my own secondary school times, I cannot imagine trying to start looking for, if somebody tells me to go and take a graphic designing class on the side, for example, or someone tells me to learn one skill on the side. I was not that motivated for that. I was not that hungry for knowledge. I just wanted to go to school. Even at that time, we didn't even know the importance of school. We just know that we were being forced, we were being woken up every morning, and we're being forced to go to school. But now, because of how public information is and how easy it is to access knowledge, this generation or the upcoming generation, they have a better chance of being smarter. And that's why, for example, in China, some of the people making some of these gadgets that are very useful to us. If you see the production factories and you see the age of people making those gadgets, some of them are a 15-year-old person in China can make a proper device that has all the qualities of a device because they are hungry for knowledge and because they are in the right environment or in the right space that encourages them to learn more knowledge. So I believe that the same way Nigerian people, Nigerian children, they are hungry for knowledge also. And if we can implement some of these policies, I like the policy that Madam Mariyomi just spoke about teachers, which is very important. Also, off the top of my head, there's a policy that I was also thinking about how to incentivize organizations to fund education. For example, creating a system, maybe like a tax incentive system, a tax rebate system, or a compulsory system where the organizations have to fund the educational sector by a certain percentage. For example, there's what we call the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, the TET Fund. And for a long time, every organization in Nigeria registered as a company has to pay at least 2.5% of their accessible profits to that fund. And I'm sure if we would have gone to some places in our universities, if for those that schooled in Nigeria, you'd have seen buildings where you saw TED Fund there. We see that the impact of that fund is working. So if more funding can be made available to that sector, I believe that the future is very bright and what we can achieve with the level of talent we have in this country is limitless. Most times when our talents go out, we see that our talent can function very well out. You go on, so you pick somebody that who appears to be a dull idea and you take him somewhere else, and the person seems like a star person somewhere else. It shows the importance of environment. And that is just the trick. Our people are not dull. Our children are not dull. But with the right environment, we can ignite the talents that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kayode, for that meaningful contribution. So, would like to take some questions from our audience. Please, if you have any question, please raise your hand or you can drop your question in the chat box. Miss Odunwayo Bakari, you can ask your question, please.
Sorry, good evening, everyone. Good evening to our speakers. Thank you so much and well done. All right, so I just want to ask it's a funny question actually. So, Mr. Kayode, you mentioned earlier that there is no one that will invest in education and won't get their dividends or like the rewards. My question now is, how do we get the fruit of our labor, dividends or the rewards? That's my question.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. So yes, and thank you for quoting me. The like every investment, like I said earlier, and thank you for reiterating that there's the reward. And one thing we should note is that the reward for the investment in education is not something that you can determine by yourself. The timing when it will come is not an investment where you say, okay, I invest now, in the next 2 years I cash out. It's an investment that you still have to continue doing, and you still have to, there's no end to investing in yourself. So you never reach a stage, and that's why even if you speak to professors, you never see a professor that says, Because I'm a professor now, I do not read anything again. It's not possible. So that continuous investment in education, somehow, is just the timing that may not be certain. But the fact that it will generate returns is very certain. You begin to upskill yourself, to begin to develop yourself. That opportunity will come. And one thing about opportunity is that opportunity meets preparation. And what is the better way to prepare than to ensure that you are equipped before the opportunity comes? So I'm going to give a very funny example to that question also. So for example, for myself now, I'm someone that loves Bidemi Olaoba very well. For those that don't know him, is a gospel artist, is a gospel musician, and I've been following his music for for a long time now, and I also sing as well. So there was a time where Bidemi was ministering in the Tafawa Balewa Square in front of thousands of people, with thousands of people streaming. And somehow, I found my way to stand in front of Bidemi Olauba. And as he was singing, I was singing with him word for word. And the time came that I signaled to him that he should give me the mic. And he told them to bring me up and say, allow him, let him come up. Then I came up, took the mic from him, and started singing with the same key he was singing, with the same energy he was singing, and with the same vibe he was singing. And after that session, people were asking me when I got down back, are you a singer? What do you do? How were you able to do this? You guys sang with the same key, sang with everything and everything. How was that possible? And my answer was that it is because there was a preparation before the opportunity. It was not structured like a preparation like, per se, but I've been listening to a song for a while. I know the wordings of the song for a while. And I'm also somebody that sings for a while. When the opportunity came to stand on a stage that had over 10,000 people, I was not shaking holding the mic because that itself is education. You can say I was educated with the lyrics of the song. I was educated with knowledge of the songs, such that when the opportunity came, did I know the opportunity would come? Was I expecting that? No, but because I had that knowledge, I was able to deliver at a stage of over thousands of people, with thousands of people online. So to you, you continue to invest in yourself. There's surely a time when an opportunity will come. And the worst thing you want to do is to make the opportunity come and you are not prepared. We've seen people that meet billionaires in elevators and they speak for 3 minutes and the billionaire is wild and say, what do you do? Come on, work for me. We've seen people just meet opportunities at the most random place. Where, sorry, can you still hear me? Yeah. So we've seen people meet opportunities at the most random place, but because they were prepared, the opportunity did not pass them by. So keep investing. The time is uncertain. The time is X, but X will surely come to pass. Just keep investing. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So,
Thank you very
am I
much.
permitted to ask my last question?
Okay.
All right, thank you. So this one is for Miss Elite. So you mentioned that for us to empower children and take education to those that are less privileged and all that, you have to have an idea and make use of an effective storytelling, if I remember correctly. However, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, for the storytelling, for us to say a story to move or to get at you and touch your emotions, must we the story must it be, how do I put it, personal to the people we are trying to help, that it now makes them feel maybe embarrassed, let me use the word, or you know, what can you expatiate on that, please? I'm not sure if you get my question.
Okay, I think I understand your question. Thank you, Miss Odun Ayo Bakari. Thank you for asking. So when I talk about the fact that ideas, right? So I think you are mixing it up. So I talked about the fact that changes in society happen through ideas, through stories, and through a voice, right? And now, when we come to storytelling, in creating and telling a story, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to tell them that this is your situation. It's basically using creative storytelling to tell them what problem they might be facing and what the solution is, right? And in fact, when I even spoke about storytelling, I was even talking majorly on how we can communicate the bigger problem to the general audience, how we can communicate the information gap, how we can communicate the educational gap to people like you and I, right? How we can tell them that, see, these things that you are hearing is not just that there are some children in one place, you are hearing about 20 children. We can use storytelling to bridge the gap by telling people that, okay, we can use storytelling to pass across the information by letting people know that, so there's this girl, her name is Christiana, for example. Christiana has to walk many kilometers to get to school. And Christiana need this and Christiana need that. And these are the ways you can come into play. This is the way you can help with it. Now we can do that through maybe documentaries. When we watch these BBC documentaries, and then you are watching certain things and you feel bad. You see those kind of things and you want to help. That's what storytelling does. It prompts people like you and I to go beyond the statistics, to go beyond the numbers and see what the real struggle is, to see that there are actually real people behind those numbers and prompt us to want to help. So that was the idea behind storytelling. There's this show called I Need to Know. It's by United Nations sponsored that show. The reason for that show is because there was already an existing problem, a bigger issue. And it was the fact that parents were taking out their children from school for the littlest reasons. And I Need to Know came up, and the United Nations made sure that this thing got to everybody. What was the need for this show? What was the reason behind it? Is to help parents be able to communicate and bond more with their children, and to help parents to see that there is absolutely no reason why you should take your child out of school for reasons that are very minute. So that is the power of storytelling. So the storytelling thing does not necessarily create the gap for the children. It helps for information. It helps us to see the bigger problem and helps us to see how we can solve them. I don't know if I've been able to answer your question. Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Miss Emike. Thank you for your amazing contribution. So, as we conclude tonight's conversation, we want to remind everyone that bridging the educational gap is not the responsibility of the government alone. Every act of support, mentorship, advocacy, and partnership contributes to building a future where every child has access to quality education. I want to sincerely thank our speakers for sharing their knowledge and valuable insights, and to all our participants for taking time to join us and actively engaging throughout the session. We really appreciate this, and we look forward to connecting with you again in the future for other program. Have a okay. Please kindly follow us on all social media platform, Instagram, X, Facebook, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter via Substack. Our handle is Phoebe Art Hope Foundation, And for partnership, you can also reach out to us via email to at Phoebe at Hope Foundation. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night and stay safe.